The piano listing. The listing appeared at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, which should have been my first warning. I was 3 glasses of wine into what I started calling my apartment therapy, scrolling through Facebook Marketplace with the kind of desperate focus that only comes after you've spent 2 weeks sleeping on an air mattress in a studio that echoes. Marcus had kept everything. The couch we'd picked out together, the dining table where we'd stopped eating dinner across from each other months before the end, the bed where I'd lie awake listening to him breathe and wonder when love had turned into something that felt like drowning. I'd left with my clothes and my dignity. The dignity was negotiable. The clothes didn't keep me warm when I sat on the floor of my new place and realized I owned nothing. Nothing but empty rooms and the kind of silence that makes you talk to yourself just to remember your voice still works. So when I saw the listing, couch, dining table, 4 chairs, all free, must pick up tonight, must also take piano, I screenshot it before I could talk myself out of it. The photos showed exactly what I needed, a deep green velvet couch, the kind that looks like it belongs in a therapist's office or a home where people read books and drink tea and never raise their voices. A solid oak table, round, with 4 chairs tucked neatly around it. Good stuff. Too good for free. And the piano. A massive upright, dark wood gone almost black with age, taking up half the frame of the last photo. It looked heavy in a way that transcended physics. Like it would be heavy to think about, heavy to remember. Must also take piano. I almost scrolled past. I didn't need a piano. I didn't play. Hadn't touched one since mandatory lessons in 4th grade. But the couch, the table, free. I messaged before I could stop myself. "Hi, is this still available?" The reply came in under a minute. "Yes, tonight only. Can you come now?" I checked the address. 20 minutes away, a neighborhood I half knew from a friend's birthday party years ago. Brownstones and narrow streets, and the kind of urban density that feels safe even after dark. I can be there in half an hour. Good. The door will be unlocked. Let yourself in. Paperwork is on the table. Sign before you take anything. Paperwork for free furniture seemed excessive, but I'd seen enough marketplace horror stories to understand. People wanted protection. No returns, no claims, no "you sold me bedbugs" lawsuits. "Will you be there?" A pause. 3 dots appearing and disappearing. "No, I can't be there anymore." I should have found that strange. I registered it as strange even then, some small animal part of my brain lifting its head and sniffing the air. But the wine had made me soft, and the empty apartment had made me desperate, and the couch, the beautiful green couch, was free. I grabbed my keys. The house was wrong. I noticed it before I was fully out of the car, that prickle at the back of my neck that usually means someone's watching. But the street was normal, other brownstones with warm windows, a woman walking her dog half a block down, the distant thrum of a city that never quite sleeps. It was the house itself, wedged between its neighbors like a tooth that had died and darkened in an otherwise healthy mouth. No lights inside, which I'd expected. But more than that, it seemed to reject the streetlight, to exist in a pocket of shadow that didn't quite match the physics of the evening. The buildings on either side leaned slightly away from it. I noticed that too. I told myself it was an optical illusion, old construction settling over decades. Told myself a lot of things as I walked up the steps. I heard the piano when I reached the door, faint, so faint I could have imagined it. A simple melody, something that sounded like it should be familiar, but wasn't quite. Notes drifting through the evening air like they'd traveled a long way to reach me. I stopped with my hand raised to knock. The music stopped too. I waited. 30 seconds, a minute. Nothing but the city sounds behind me, the dog walker's footsteps fading, a car passing at the end of the street. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. I tried the door. It opened without resistance, swinging inward on silent hinges, and the smell hit me first. Dust and old wood and something underneath, something sweet and dark that I couldn't name. Not decay, almost like flowers, but flowers that had never seen the sun. "Hello?" My voice fell flat. Not an echo, not the way sound usually moves through empty spaces. The word just stopped, like the house had caught it and swallowed it whole. The furniture was there, arranged in the front room as if someone had just stepped out. The green velvet couch, more beautiful in person, practically glowing against the dark hardwood floors. The oak table, 4 chairs tucked neatly around it, and dominating the far wall, impossible to ignore, the piano. It was larger than it had looked in the photos, taller. The dark wood seemed to drink the faint light coming through the windows, and the keys, I could see them from across the room, were yellowed like old teeth, like they'd been played by countless hands over countless years. On the table, a manila folder, a pen, and a small brass key. I crossed to the table, my footsteps too loud, and opened the folder. Agreement of transfer. The words were typed, formal, the kind of document that tries very hard to look legal. I skimmed the first page, standard stuff. I agreed to take all items listed, agreed not to hold the previous owner liable for any damages. I agreed that all transfers were final and binding. I agree that I will not return, resell, donate, or otherwise attempt to transfer these items to any party, including but not limited to the original owner. A little paranoid, but fine. I understand that by signing this document, I accept full responsibility for all items listed and any conditions attached thereto. Conditions attached thereto? Legal jargon. I flipped to the second page. More text, smaller now. The kind of dense paragraphs that no one reads. The kind that companies hide arbitration clauses in. The kind that assume you'll skip to the signature line. I skipped to the signature line. Signed my name. Dated it. Felt a small click somewhere in my chest, like a lock tumbling shut. But I told myself that was just relief. Just the knowledge that the couch was mine, the table was mine. I could go home tonight to something other than empty rooms and echoing silence. I pulled out my phone to text my friend about helping me move everything tomorrow. The listing had said tonight, but surely I could take the small stuff now and come back with help for the rest. And stopped. No signal. I'd had full bars outside. I walked to the window, held my phone up, watched the empty indicator mock me. Through the glass, I could see the city going about its business, a couple walking hand in hand, a man on his phone laughing at something. I tapped the glass. Neither of them looked up. I knocked harder. The sound should have carried. It was just glass, just a window. But my knuckles made a dull thud, like I was hitting something solid, something thick, something that had no intention of letting the sound through. The piano started playing. Not faint this time, not distant. Right there, in the room behind me, the keys pressing down in that same, almost familiar melody. I spun around so fast I nearly fell. No one was sitting at the bench. The keys were moving on their own, pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing. The music filled the room with something that was almost beautiful but wrong, slightly off-key, slightly too slow, like a record playing at the wrong speed. I ran for the door. My hand closed on the knob and I twisted and pulled, and nothing happened. Not locked. I would have felt a lock. It simply didn't move, like the door had become part of the wall, like the concept of opening no longer applied. I pulled harder, threw my shoulder against it. The wood didn't even stutter. Behind me, the piano played on. "Let me out!" My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Please, I don't want the furniture. I changed my mind. I don't want any of it." The music stopped. In the silence that followed, I heard something else. Footsteps on the floor above me, slow and measured, crossing from one side of the ceiling to the other, then stopping directly overhead. I looked up. The ceiling looked back. Not literally, there were no eyes, no face, nothing I could point to and say, there, that's what I saw. But I felt it. Attention, interest. Something in this house had noticed me, really noticed me, and it was curious about what I would do next. I signed the paper. The words came out in a whisper. Was that wrong? I can unsign it. I can cross out my name. I ran back to the table and grabbed the folder, and the paper was different now. Not the document I'd signed. Same folder, same formal typing, but the text had changed, grown. Where there had been 2 pages, there were now 6, 7, the small print I'd skipped, expanding into paragraphs and paragraphs of conditions I hadn't agreed to, couldn't have agreed to, because I would have noticed. I understand that the premises and all contents are now bound to my person. I understand that departure is not possible until transfer is complete. I understand that transfer requires a willing recipient. I understand that the listing must continue. The listing must always continue. At the bottom of the last page, my signature, my handwriting, dated today. I hadn't written those words. I hadn't signed that page. But there it was, undeniable. My name in my hand, claiming ownership of something I was only beginning to understand. The footsteps started again, closer now, coming downstairs I hadn't noticed, somewhere in the darkness at the back of the house. I backed away from the table. My hip hit the piano bench and I stumbled, caught myself on the keys, and the sound that came out was not a chord. It was a voice, low and long and hungry, vibrating through the wood and into my bones. Something was coming down the stairs. I couldn't see it clearly. The darkness in the house didn't behave. It pooled and shifted, thicker in some places than others, and whatever was descending moved through the thickest parts like it belonged there. I caught glimpses, a shape that was almost human, arms that bent at angles that arms shouldn't bend, a face that I couldn't look at directly, that my eyes kept sliding off of, that existed somehow in my peripheral vision no matter which way I turned my head. Please, I was crying now. I could feel the tears on my cheeks, hot and useless. Please, I don't understand. I just want a couch. I just wanted to feel like I had a home again. The shape stopped at the bottom of the stairs, and I heard a voice. Not out loud, inside, in the space behind my thoughts, in the place where my own internal monologue lived. You do. This is home now. Your home. Forever. The darkness rushed forward and I closed my eyes and felt it pass through me, cold and absolute. And when I opened my eyes again, I was sitting at the piano. My fingers were on the keys. I was playing. I don't know how long I sat there. The music came without thought, without effort, a melody I'd never learned pouring out of me like water from a broken pipe. My fingers knew where to go. My hands knew the shapes. The song was old. I understood that without knowing how. Old and patient and hungry. When I finally stopped, the house was different. The dust was gone. The shadows had retreated to their normal places, behaving like shadows should. Light came through the windows, gray and thin, and I realized that it was morning. That night had passed, that I had been playing for hours. I stood up from the bench. My legs ached. My back ached. My fingers were sore. The skin at the tips tender in a way that spoke of repetition, of practice, of use. The front door was open. I could see the street outside, the same brownstones, a jogger passing by, a car pulling out of a parking spot. Normal, safe, real. I ran. I made it 3 steps out the door before I hit something I couldn't see. Not a wall, nothing solid, just a point beyond which my body refused to go, like trying to push 2 magnets together at the wrong poles. I strained against it, leaned my whole weight forward, and the city stayed just out of reach. Behind me, I heard the door close. When I turned around, the house had changed again. My air mattress was in the corner of the front room. My clothes were hanging in a closet I hadn't seen before. My phone was on the table. My phone. The case with the crack in the corner from when I'd dropped it at Marcus's apartment, the last time I'd seen him, the last time I'd thought I knew what my life was going to look like. The couch was still there, the table and chairs, the piano. But now there were other things too. My coffee maker, my books, the photo of my mother that I kept on my nightstand because it was the only one where she was really smiling. The house had taken my apartment. No, that wasn't right. The house had become my apartment, had absorbed it, had made itself into everything I owned and everything I needed so that I would never have to leave, never want to leave, never need anything from the world outside these walls. I sank onto the couch, my couch now, the green velvet somehow more beautiful than ever, and I understood. The person who had posted the listing, they had lived here too, sat on this couch, slept in that corner, played that piano through the long nights while the house remade itself around them. They had been trapped here for how long? Months? Years? I thought about the date on the listing, the tonight only, the desperation beneath the words. They had found a way out. Me. The days pass strangely here. I can't tell you how many there have been. Time moves in the spaces between piano songs, in the silences when I stop playing and try to remember what it felt like to walk down a street, to order coffee, to feel the sun on my face without a window between us. I can see the city through the glass. I watch the seasons change, I think. The tree across the street loses its leaves and grows them back and loses them again. People walk by with their dogs and their children and their lives, and none of them ever look at the house. None of them see me pressed against the window, mouthing words that will never reach them. The house takes care of me. There's food in the kitchen, though I don't remember buying it. The lights work, the heat works. Everything I need appears exactly when I need it, and I've stopped wondering how. I play the piano every night. I don't have a choice. When the sun sets, my hands start to ache, and the only thing that soothes them is the keys. The music comes easier now. I've learned songs I never knew existed, melodies that feel older than the house, older than the city, older than anything that has the right to still be remembered. Sometimes, while I play, I see her, the shape from the stairs. She's clearer now, or maybe I've learned how to look at her. A woman, I think. She might have been young once. She sits in the corner and listens, and her face, when I catch glimpses of it, looks almost peaceful, almost free. I think she's the first one. I think she's been listening for a very long time. I think there were others between us, other names signed on other documents, other people who sat at this piano and played until they found someone to take their place. A chain of desperation stretching back through decades, maybe centuries, each link forged in loneliness and sealed with a signature. I've started writing the listing, not because I want to. The guilt sits in my chest like a stone, heavier every time I think about the person who will read my words, who will see free furniture and think they've found a solution to whatever emptiness they're trying to fill. I know what I'm doing. I know what it makes me. But I can't stay here forever. I can't. The listing is almost ready. I've described the couch, the table, the chairs. I've mentioned the piano, made it seem like an afterthought, an inconvenience I'm bundling in because who wants a piano these days? Who would go out of their way to take one? Someone will. Someone desperate. Someone lonely. Someone who looks at empty rooms and sees everything they've lost. Someone exactly like I was. 3 glasses of wine into a Tuesday night, thinking that furniture could fill the spaces left behind. Must pick up tonight. Must also take piano. I'm posting it soon. Maybe tonight. Maybe tomorrow. If tomorrow still means anything. If you see it, if you're reading this because you saw that listing that seemed too good to be true, please, close the app. Keep scrolling. Find furniture somewhere else, anywhere else, even if you have to save for months, even if you have to sit on the floor. Don't sign the paperwork. Don't play the piano. Don't end up like me, sitting at these keys in a house that won't let go, waiting for someone else to take my place, so I can finally remember what it feels like to be outside, to be free, to be anything other than a song that never ends. The woman in the corner is standing now. She's walking toward the door. I think she knows someone is coming. I think she can feel them the way I felt her, that first night, that presence watching from above. She's smiling. It's not a cruel smile. It's the smile of someone who has been waiting for so long, so impossibly long, and finally sees the end. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But when you get here, and you will, you're already on your way. I can feel it. Please know that I didn't have a choice. Please know that I was just like you. Please know that the couch really is beautiful, that the table is solid oak, that the piano plays songs you'll never forget. Please know that the house will take such good care of you, just like it takes care of me, just like it will take care of you forever, until you find someone else to pass it to. The door is unlocking now. I can hear footsteps on the porch. Don't knock. Don't come in. Don't come in.